So if your makeup has been looking heavier on your skin, settling into fine lines, and just not looking right anymore, it's probably not the product, but the way it's being used. Today, I'm gonna walk you through 5 of the biggest mistakes I see mature women making, especially this time of year, and then I'm gonna show you how to fix them so that your skin looks fresh, natural, and smooth. So if you're new here, welcome. I create content for mature women who like a natural, fresh looking aesthetic that's not overdone. So if that's you, consider subscribing. As we mature, our skin naturally becomes more dehydrated and dry. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we put a level of hydration on before we go in there with any type of makeup, just so that it looks plumper and fresher and cleaner on the skin, and it doesn't look too heavy and settle into any of the fine lines and dry patches that we might have. So what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll either take a hydrating setting mist or a serum, something that's very lightweight. So on the right side, I'm going to do it the right way, and then on the left side, I'm going to do it the incorrect way. So go in, just take a very fine mist, so it should feel comfortable, slightly plump, but not sticky or greasy. Slightly plump and hydrated is your sweet spot. That's really where you want it to be. So the second mistake I see mature women making is not adjusting your foundation shade for spring and summer. So if you go in there with the shade that you've been using all winter long, what happens obviously in the spring and summer is we get a little bit more color, especially on our chest and our arms area and our legs. So if you're using the same shade of foundation on your face is going to look like a floating head, and it's going to look like it doesn't belong on the rest of your body. So what you want to do is go in there and deepen it up a little bit, and you can do that a couple of different ways. You can go in there and take a warmer foundation and blend it in with your light foundation so that it looks a little bit deeper on your skin and blends in with your chest and arm area. Or go in there, use the same foundation, but then go in there with a bronzer and slightly bronze up your face so that it blends in with your arms and your chest. Now that is one of my favorite ways to do this, is to go in there with the bronzer. I just feel like you're gonna keep the same shade as your face, but you're gonna make it look like you got a little bit of color. All right, so let me show you what that looks like. So what I'm gonna do on my left side is use a foundation that's not correct for the summer. Go in there, and you can sort of watch this transformation, because I'm using the same foundation. So I'm putting a little bit more on than I normally would, but I want you to see the comparison. So now what we can do is we can go in there and we can take a bronzer and take a big fluffy brush, go in there and roll it around to your bronzer, tap off any excess, and then go in and just kind of deepen it up all the way around the outer portion of your face. Go a little bit on your nose, bring it up. Just kind of go where the sun would naturally hit your face. Make sure you get up in that hairline, and then be sure to look down at your chest and make sure that this matches up. You can see already how that made a difference. So that is one of my favorite ways to do it, and you don't have to run out and purchase anything new. So you can see on this side of my face, it looks a little dull, it looks slightly off and a little bit gray. And spring is about alive, fresh looking skin. Nothing too heavy, nothing too dreary. So the third mistake I see mature women making is layering on too many products. And I know I just talked about going in there and making sure you're hydrating your skin, but there's a balance there, right? You know, you do not want to go in there with too many products. What's really going to happen is it's going to start to look very heavy on the face, and it's really going to look like you're wearing makeup, which the goal is for us just to look fresh and healthy looking. What happens is we go in there and we start off with maybe a heavy moisturizer. So I'm going to use this one, and I do love this moisturizer, but not during the day in the spring and summer. Now I'm going to, on the other side, I'm going to go in with a mist, a hydrating mist. And this one here from Pixi is a hyaluronic mist, and it's really just going to help plump up that skin and give it just enough hydration. Then on top of that, people will go in and use a primer. So let's use this flawless poreless primer, because one of the things that I know mature women struggle with is we have larger pores as we mature, right? So on our chin, our nose, and our forehead area here, we have heavier pores. But what they'll do is go in and take like way too much and go in and put it on their nose, bring it out here, come up here, and then blend that in all over, okay? And then it's just sitting very heavy on the skin. But what you need to do is just go in there with a little tiny bit, like maybe that much, and go in and get the pores, right, on your nose, in here, if you have a little bit, press it into the skin, and then in here. And believe it or not, you have enough just by doing that, and I didn't even use it all. And go up in here and press it in. There's nothing wrong with using like 2 primers on your skin for different issues, but the amount that you're using is really, really important. So I have some rosacea here on my cheek, but I don't need to go in with a primer, a corrector all over my entire skin. I can just go in here and blend that in and press it into the skin. As well as I have some texture on my skin, right? And again, it's all about the amount that you're using. Use a lot less than you think you need to use. That's all I can tell you. Just use a lot less and see what happens. So I have some texture up here, so what I would do is just go in there. Now, I know that this is a lot of work just to go ahead and have a natural looking makeup, but just figure out which product is really gonna benefit you the most that day. And then what they'll do is go in and put foundation all over. Instead, what you want to do is go in with just a small amount of foundation, like that much. Take a brush and go in and start from the center of your face and bring it up and outward. Okay, just a little bit, just where we need it. And you don't need to add any more on. You can just kind of pull it up and out so that it looks blended. So you can already see that this side of the face looks lighter and this side of the face just has a heavier look to it. So another common mistake I see women making is they have discoloration under their eye. So they go in there with a color corrector to fix the discoloration. And then they think because they put a color corrector on that they need to go over the top of it with a concealer. But if you look at this, although this is a little bit heavy, I don't need a concealer on top of this. This is fine just the way that it is. And go in and put concealer all underneath the eye. Press that in there. And sometimes they're swiping it away because they feel like they have too much product on. Actually, really what you need to do is go in there and you can start off with a color corrector. See how it looks. Use very little, a lot less than you really think you need. So this is an under eye corrector from Tarte. And I'm gonna go in, I'm taking a little tiny bit. I'm gonna go in where I get dark in here, press that in, and then I'm just tapping that down. I'm not swiping away, I'm just tapping it down. And then I'm gonna go out here. I have some darkness here and I'm tapping and pulling it upwards towards my hairline above my ear, and whatever's left I'm going to bring it down just so it looks blended in the under eye. That's all I'm going to do. I don't need to go in there with anything else. You can see how heavy this side looks compared to this side. This side just looks fresher and lighter looking. And then on top of that they'll go in there with a setting powder, which is a great setting powder, but using it the right way is really important. I take a big fluffy brush and going in there and they're gonna powder everything because everything looks a little maybe shiny, right? And they'll powder all across here. Bring it up underneath their eye. Okay, now it just looks very heavy and flat looking. But if you feel like you need areas that you need to set, which is perfectly normal. So you can go in there, take a powder puff and use a finely milled setting powder. I'm gonna use this one here from Burst and go in. It has a little bit of brightening agents in it too. It has some pink, can you see that? Which is really brightening and lifting for mature skin. Tap off any excess, right? You wanna get all that excess off of there. And go in the areas where you need it, okay? Mature makeup is all about being strategic and not using too much makeup. And going in there and like pressing in this area, okay? And then taking it in the under eye and pressing it very slightly in that under eye. You can see I used a lot less product, and can you see how it did take down some of that shine, and it also set those areas which can potentially be a problem, right? Especially when the warmer weather where, you know, things want to collect in certain areas. You can go up here too, maybe if you need to set a little bit. I mean, I want to keep it glowy and healthy looking up here. I don't want it looking too heavy there. And even maybe a tiny bit out here. But stand back and look at your skin. Evaluate it. That's what professional makeup artists do. They stand, they look, they think, where do I need to add additional product? It's not a one size fits all for people. It really is about tailoring the makeup to you and your skin and your issues. And then on top of that, they'll go in and use a setting spray. Now these things are all perfectly fine on their own, but going in there and using too much setting spray will just make it look heavier again. Or even using like a matte setting spray. You really just want to use something very light and airy looking. And you can even go in, use the same one, but just go in and just do like one mist with it. Okay, this is the side that's too heavy. And then this is the side that looks just a little healthier and fresher looking. And then you can see the under eye. So mature makeup is about using very thin, actually all makeup is about using very thin layers. It's not about going in there and overdoing it. For those of you who don't know, I have a bridal hair and makeup company, and I focus specifically on doing natural bride makeup looks. And I can tell you the #1 problem I hear from women is if they've had makeup done elsewhere, like it's just way too heavy, it's overpowering, and it can be very overwhelming. And we don't need to do that. We just need to be very strategic about how we're putting that makeup on. And again, just very light layers and a lot less than you really think you need. So the 5th common mistake I see mature women making is skipping lash definition. And this is really simple. It doesn't need to be too heavy. Again, everything is about balance and strategically placing products. So I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna use a light brown liner, okay? And I'm gonna go in and I'm just gonna work on going right up in my lash with this pencil and defining the lash area. Not so much the waterline, but more or less in that lash line, just to give it a little bit more definition. Now you can already see how that kind of brightened up the eye. Now you can go on top of it too, a little bit, I would just use it on the outer corner, like right in here. Defining this outer third portion of my upper lash line, taking a pencil brush and then smudging it out so it looks very smudged and natural looking. Smudging it out and then pulling it upwards towards my hairline. Very slightly. I'm not going in there too hard. I'm just very gently pulling it out so that it gives the eye a little bit of a lifted look. And then going in there with a good mascara. I'm gonna go in there with this one from Pixie, and I'm just gonna focus on the outer portion. I'm gonna go in there and add a little bit on my inner side, but for the most part, I want to bring to the outer portion of my lash, and I wanna lift it up. Getting close to that lash line, wiggling it and pulling. Now, can you see the difference? It's going to give the eye a more lifted look, and it's just going to open up the eye a little bit more, but without it getting too heavy looking. So the goal for spring is simple. It's using lighter layers, strategic placement, and having your skin look like skin. So it's not about more makeup, it's about using the right amount of makeup. So if your makeup has not been sitting quite right lately, it's probably one of these 5 things. So just let me know in the comments below which one of these things might be affecting your makeup the most, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye everyone.